Out of the past 20 years, 5 have been droughts, and this is becoming only more extreme, with 3 of the past 5 years having been droughts themselves.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Evidently, the Dutch have no water. That is right. That is what this video says, at least. So, hate to break it to you, but it says right here, the Dutch have no water. The original channel is called Into Europe, and it says the Netherlands is running out of water, threatening its economic prosperity and the livability of its land. It is a water problem very different from the floods it's used to dealing with. Yeah, so I seen this pop up, and this kind of struck me sideways because I was like, what do you mean the Netherlands has no water? They got too much water. Like, it's got so much water, they got to like pump it out with windmills and build canals to like channel it and stuff. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting video. I have no clue. I have no clue what we're going to get into here, guys. But evidently the Dutch have no water. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. There's no reason to learn how to swim anymore over there, right? Links to the original video will be in the description section down below. As always, I'm going to go ahead and click like on this video. Why don't you guys head over to the original channel and click like on it as well. And we're going to find out what in the world are they talking about, because I see water everywhere. I mean, I've never been there, but I've seen a lot of videos, and even in this picture right here, it's full of water. So to say the Dutch have no water is very drastic and very much different than what we're used to seeing or hearing. So let's see what this is all about, guys.
Dikes, canals, windmills, and flooding. The threat of water has played a central role in shaping Dutch identity and culture.
Right.
Aside from its attempts at drowning the Dutch, it also became one of their most important economic assets, using agriculture, shipping, and industry. But believe it or not, the Netherlands is drying up, and the water which allowed it to become one of the most productive societies in the world is running out.
Is it running out, though? Or is the water levels just drying up just a little bit and they'll be back, just like we see all over the place in the world? Like Lake Mead was drying up there for a while. It's the one out west here in the United States that was created by like the Hoover Dam or something like that. Water levels were going down. Sure, everybody was freaking out, of course, but they fixed it. Now the water levels are rising again. So I don't know. I think water's always moving around the world. So you can't say, you know, because there's just like a little bit less water than last year that it's drying up. I don't know. Also, that is really cool where the water, or where the highway goes under the water. That is very cool.
It's a water problem that's very different from the floods that the Netherlands is used to dealing with. So why is the Netherlands becoming drier? And what can it do about it?
Is it though?
Okay, so first we need to understand why water is so important for the Netherlands. 1,000 years ago, the Netherlands was a mixture of marshland and wetlands. In other words, it was a swamp.
Right.
The Netherlands had too much water, and so they actively tried to get rid of it.
It's a river delta, I believe.
The Dutch started land reclamation projects, draining the swamp, and building an entire country in its place.
They did that. They've been doing that since either the 13th century or the 1300s, I believe.
This is, of course, a huge oversimplification of a process that lasted hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But the result is that they created an artificial landscape perfect for land development.
They say God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. That's a big saying over there.
If you look at satellite imagery of the country, you see canals, irrigation networks, and dikes running throughout.
Right.
The wetlands have all but disappeared. The purpose of all of those changes were, and still are, first and foremost economic, to protect cities and valuable land, and to use water as a tool. This abundance of water enabled the Netherlands to develop one of the most intensive agricultural sectors in the world, a solid industrial base, and a large transportation system based on water. 35% of all of Dutch freight is transported via internal waterways, 5 times more than in neighboring countries.
Well, yeah, but they probably got 5 times more waterways than neighboring countries too. So like that makes sense. You might as well make use of it, right?
But while the Netherlands has an absolute abundance of water, because it's so densely populated, it has relatively little water available per person. In a ranking of countries according to renewable freshwater resources, the Netherlands actually ranks 148th, under South Africa and even Morocco.
Wow.
And now, with changing weather patterns as a result of climate change, the Netherlands is paradoxically seeing more rain, but less water.
How is it 148th for water available to his residents when there's literally water everywhere? Like anybody could just like take the water out of the canals and filter it for drinking water, right?
One thing the Netherlands does have in abundance is awesome companies, which brings me to this video's sponsor, Fairphone. Fairphone is a product that I've been personally using for the past 2 years, and I love it so much that I've reached out to them to sponsor this video. The reason I love Fairphone so much is because it's designed to be incredibly sturdy. I have a tendency to throw my phone a bit all over the place, so it was perfect for me.
Maybe I should get one of those. I have bad luck breaking my phones. In fact, the phone that I have right here, this is like the third screen that was put in this phone. Like, because luckily this one's lasted though, but the last two, they've dropped, broke, even simple drops that I didn't expect for it to break just shattered the screen and I had to replace it.
Even if it does break, the 5-year warranty and modularity allows you to repair your phone easily throughout its lifetime. You can easily replace the screen or the battery or nearly all of the other parts. It's basically the world's most repairable phone.
I want one of those. They should sponsor me and give me a phone and I would promote it on my channel. If you guys are watching for Fairphone, hit me up.
And on top of that, Fairphone sources its materials responsibly and designs all of its products with circularity in mind, making sure that this phone can easily be recycled at the end of its life. They recently brought out the Fairphone 4, which is even better than the one I have. So if you need a durable phone and want to support a European business, go take a look at Fairphone.
Nice.
Now, back to the video. So water in the Netherlands comes from 2 sources, rain and rivers.
Right.
And roughly speaking, there are 3 reasons why the Netherlands are receiving less water. Rain is falling more in the autumn and winter, rather than in the spring and summer, when plants are growing and can absorb more water.
To be honest, guys, I don't know what the autumn and winter means, but okay, we're gonna roll with it.
Maar de verdeling over het jaar die wordt steeds extremer. Hè? Dat is ook echt het probleem van de klimaatverandering.
And when it does fall, it's more likely to be in intense rain episodes, which means that more water ends up in the sea.
Als je het sneller afvoert met hoogwater, dan helpt het niks met die droogte, want dan ben je het water kwijt.
On top of this, Europe in general is getting warmer, which leads to more evaporation and less water in rivers and in the ground.
Can anyone say climate change?
Disappearance of the glaciers in the Alps means that a precious water buffer for the summer is disappearing, meaning reduced river flow to the Netherlands. Out of the past 20 years, 5 have been droughts, and this is becoming only more extreme, with 3 of the past 5 years having been droughts themselves.
Jeez.
The droughts will happen every 2 to every 3 years, maybe in future, I wouldn't say every summer.
So, the Netherlands isn't the only country facing this problem. Greece, Spain, and France all have forest fires, and there are low water levels all across Europe. But owing to its special geography,
Did that say there were ships?
And there are low water
Trapped dozens of ships in Romania and Danube port. Huh. I didn't hear about that. Oh, I guess a little over a year ago, though.
All across Europe. But owing to its special geography, the Netherlands has a special set of problems. Weaker water flow in rivers is allowing salt water to flow inland, and low groundwater levels are allowing for infiltration along the coast. While this happens on most coasts all across the world, the Netherlands being under sea level means saltwater infiltration happens on a much wider scale, because gravity. It threatens to make a large part of the Netherlands' drinking water unfit for agriculture and consumption, and to permanently damage the Dutch ecosystem. For example, in 2018, the water of the IJsselmeer became too salty for consumption. On top of that, the reduced river flow makes navigation on Dutch waterways more difficult during the summer. And lower groundwater levels means part of the Netherlands is subsiding. And then there's simply less water to use for agriculture and industry.
Can't you set up giant desalination setups though, where you can just desalinate, like, you know, take the salt water out of the water though? Isn't that a thing? Like, come on, Dutch are amazing engineers. They're gonna figure that out. I mean, the water too much water hasn't been an issue. They figured it out in like the 12 or 1300s, and they've been battling the water since. So I'm sure a little bit of a drought isn't. I mean, yeah, sure, it's complete opposite of what they're used to, but with the incredible ingenuity of the Dutch, I'm sure they're gonna figure it out. Like, it's one of the smartest countries there is.
But you see, the Netherlands is in a tough spot to deal with the changes. The entire Dutch water management system was built to deal with flooding, and now it has to manage both flooding and droughts. Let's first take a look at infrastructure. In the event of heavy rainfall, Dutch flood defenses are designed to move water away as fast as possible.
Right.
Like this flood buffer, which is designed to be empty in 24 hours to be ready for the next storm.
Oh,
But
geez.
rainfall is increasingly likely to fall in intense rain episodes. And that means that when the Netherlands does get rain, it quickly ends up in rivers and then the sea. Additionally, the Netherlands uses most of its land for agriculture, cities, and roads, which not only stops water from infiltrating, but also actively uses water. Natural landscapes like wetlands, which are better at retaining water, only make up a fraction of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And then, the entire Dutch water management system is built to deal with a big crisis, like a flood, which has a clear beginning and a clear end. But the thing is, droughts are slow, get worse over time, and there's little action that can be taken while they're happening. So yes, when there's a drought, the Netherlands does have a 3-tiered crisis plan to prioritize who gets water, shifting it from recreation and farmers to consumers. But that does nothing to address the long-term prevention needed to tackle the structural water deficit it's likely set to face. Luckily for the Netherlands, it has quite a bit of wiggle room to better manage its water resources, and to a certain extent, it can deal with droughts and flooding simultaneously. The most obvious example is to revamp its infrastructure to also be able to deal with droughts.
I don't see how that would be such an issue, though, because there's already, like, you know, they already pump water out. So if there's a drought, wouldn't there just be less water to pump out? So it would actually alleviate some of their issues with that. And I don't understand, like, where it says something about the salt water, something about because of gravity. Well, if gravity pulls down, of course, then how's that going to pull the water from the ocean through the dikes and then back up? I don't get that.
Take this place here, the Oijenwansen project. It's a nature reserve that acts both as a flood outlet and a water buffer, which allows water to infiltrate into the ground. And because the Netherlands manages so much of its land directly, it has a lot of power on how it's used. Cities can be adapted to let more water infiltrate into the ground. Farmers which use most of Dutch land could be incentivized on the basis of water retention, or simply move to land which is better at retaining water. It can also return land to natural landscapes that are better at retaining water. Another way to deal with the problem is through innovation. The Dutch are already building desalination plants to be able to use salt water for industry.
That's what I was going to say, desalination right there. There's one of your solutions.
But its main problem is the same one it's had for centuries: a lack of space. The changes it needs to implement means competition and fighting over land use and access to water. And that comes at the risk of widespread social movements.
Couldn't you, okay, so lack of space, awesome, but they have a ton of space on the water. Couldn't they just make floating barges that double as desalination units? Don't put it on the land, put it on the water.
Particularly with the farmers who use most of the land and who are among the first to see their water cut off. Regardless, the Netherlands is an example of a society that is wealthy enough to deal with the consequences of climate change. It has the talent, money, and culture of innovation to get away with it.
Right.
But it shows the kind of adaptations that need to be implemented in order to deal with the drought. Yet it doesn't mean that dealing with these changes won't hurt, as they mean using less of the Netherlands' greatest asset: water. This was Into Europe. Thanks for watching. As per usual, this...
Yeah, so Into Europe. I don't know if that I've seen this channel before. No, I have. I'm subscribed to it. Where's this person from? Is he from the Netherlands? Let me see here. Where's this channel from? Netherlands, yeah. I was thinking so. It sounded like you had a little bit of a Dutch accent there. Yeah, so go ahead and check out Into Europe. The links to the original videos in the description section. See what these comments are saying. It says, yeah, there's enough water just at the wrong time at the wrong place. This is an engineering problem at which the Dutch are exceptionally good at. Have full confidence it can and will be solved. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, they're engineers. Like, they're some of the world's best engineers. They're going to figure it out. I don't think it's even an issue. Important distinction for the quote at 115. These generally aren't irrigation canals because the land is plenty wet with groundwater. They are drainage canals used to pump away rising groundwater. Yeah, I agree with that. They're definitely drainage canals is what it is to move the water away. It says the positive point is that the Netherlands has very strong water management organizations and companies, probably the best in the world. At the moment, a lot is invested to adapt procedures and infrastructures to adapt to climate change. For instance, in my neighborhood, all streets got new sewer systems. Rainwater is not collected in huge pits, not flooded away via the sewers. Also, the IJsselmeer, the large central lake, gets a dynamic height. Cities actively remove tiles and add trees. So sincere attempts to battle the consequence of climate change. Right here. If I understand anything about the Netherlands, their engineers will work this one out and their companies will develop the solution into a profitable export without invading their neighbors' acrimony or fuss too. Hup, Holland, hup. Yeah, exactly. Netherlands is the only country that's actually gained land without taking it from anybody else. So I don't think it's an issue. Definitely something to keep in mind for sure. But with the Dutch, engineers and the smartness and stuff like that, they're definitely going to figure it out. And, the Dutch are definitely smart people, right? That's why most of my audience is Dutch, because you guys are smart. You know that this is the greatest American Reacts channel that ever existed. Duh. All right, you guys have a super fun, awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, bye.